The EU has agreed a landmark 2-year financial package for Ukraine. The agreement to loan Ukraine €90 billion was reached at a European Council summit in Brussels after late-night talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked EU leaders for what he called a significant investment that would strengthen both Ukraine's military and wider economic needs over the next 2 years, and the timing of the deal is critical.
Today we approved a decision to provide €90 billion to Ukraine for the next 2 years.
The member states have agreed to finance the Ukraine through EU borrowing on the capital markets.
The International Monetary Fund estimates Ukraine will need €137 billion in 2026 and 2027, and officials in Kyiv have warned funding is needed quickly, with pressure expected to build by spring. The biggest talking point inside the EU was over whether frozen Russian assets should be used to raise the money. Around €210 billion in Russian assets are immobilised in Europe, under sanctions imposed after Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. Some EU leaders wanted those frozen assets to underpin the funding for Ukraine, but Belgium resisted, saying it carried legal risks and could expose the country to retaliation.
We couldn't leave here without a solution for Ukraine. That would have been the end of us, of all our geopolitical relevance. But I haven't talked in terms of winning and losing.
However, rather than directly using frozen Russian assets to raise the funds, EU leaders agreed to borrow on capital markets while keeping the Russian assets immobilised. Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Orbán, said he did not want a European Union in war and argued that giving money meant exactly that.
Because I would not like to see a European Union which is in war. To give money means war.
Other leaders defended the decision. France's President, Emmanuel Macron, said borrowing on capital markets was the most realistic way to fund the deal.
Ces eurobonds pour l'Ukraine sont une avancée majeure qui donne de la visibilité à nos amis ukrainiens et de la cohérence à notre soutien.
Meanwhile, Germany's Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, said the frozen Russian assets would remain blocked until Russia had paid reparations.
Diese mehrjährige Perspektive ist entscheidend, das Überleben der Ukraine zu sichern, aber auch ein unmissverständliches Signal an Moskau zu setzen.
In the UK, Downing Street was asked whether the government would be willing to share the risk if the EU moved further towards using frozen Russian assets. The Prime Minister's spokesman said the UK wants those immobilised assets used to support Ukraine. Sir Keir Starmer used PMQs to pile pressure on Roman Abramovich over the frozen proceeds from the sale of Chelsea.
My message to Abramovich is this: the clock is ticking. Honour the commitment that you made. We're prepared to go to court so every penny reaches those whose lives have been torn apart by Putin's illegal war.
The historic EU agreement comes as pressure grows from US President Donald Trump for a negotiated deal between Kyiv and the Kremlin to end the war.
Mr. President, there's a meeting this weekend on Ukraine in Florida. What are you hoping will come out of that meeting?
Well, they're getting close to something, but I hope Ukraine moves quickly. I hope Ukraine moves quickly because Russia's there. And, every time they take too much time, then Russia changes their mind.
Speaking at his year-end news conference, Putin claimed Russia's troops were advancing across the front line and said they had fully seized the strategic initiative and would make more gains by the end of the year.